If you're doing everything right to manifest and you still feel like nothing's changing, the problem isn't your technique. It's how you're vibrating without even realizing it. I had 5 habits like that. And the 5th one is what showed me how the universe actually responds. Before we get into this, let me ask you for something quick. Subscribe to this channel because I bring you this kind of conversation every week, always trying to explain the logic behind manifestation, no fluff and no empty mysticism, and leave a like. Because that helps this reach more people who also feel like they've tried everything and still haven't figured out what's blocking them. You've probably tried everything by now. Daily affirmations, visualization before bed, prayer, gratitude written down in a journal. And still, life stays exactly where it was, like the universe just stopped listening to you. I spent years like that. And what I discovered was that the mistake was never in the technique. It was in the posture behind it. There's a real difference between asking the universe for something and actually assuming it's already yours. And most of us don't even notice which one we're doing. You pray, you affirm, you give thanks, but inside you're still stuck on the same question. Is this actually going to work this time? That question, by itself, is already a request. And asking, deep down, is admitting that something's still missing. Have you ever noticed how common it is to finish a spiritual practice and, minutes later, open your banking app just to check if something changed? That's not curiosity. That's distrust dressed up as faith. And there are at least 5 habits like that. Habits that look like part of the process, but that actually push away the exact thing you're trying to attract. This isn't about feeling bad for checking your bank balance. It's about realizing that this one gesture by itself is already a vibration. And it can be stronger than any affirmation you made right before it. There's a scene almost everyone's lived through. Asking the universe for a clear sign, a song that plays at exactly the right moment, a repeating number, a message that shows up out of nowhere. And when it doesn't show up the way you expected, feeling like nobody heard you. That has a name. It's the first habit that sabotages more than it seems to help. But noticing this changes everything. Asking for a sign all the time is like demanding proof from a friend every single day just to know if they still like you. Does that make sense? No. But that's exactly what we do with the universe, without realizing that this constant asking is really just a fear of being forgotten. I've done this so many times. I kept waiting for an obvious sign, and when it didn't come the way I expected, I decided it hadn't worked. But deep down, I just didn't know how to recognize the answer when it showed up. The second habit is similar to that banking app scene I mentioned earlier. Except now, it's worth understanding why it weighs so heavy. Checking the outcome constantly is like opening the oven every single minute to see if the cake has risen. You never let the process actually happen because you keep interrupting it, trying to confirm it's working. Every check turns into a verdict. Did it work today or didn't it? And it's this daily cycle of judgment that keeps your vibration stuck on one single question. Where's the result? But these first 2 are still the easiest habits to spot. Some people have been practicing the next 2 for years and never imagined they were sabotaging everything. It's that tightness in your chest when you skip a day of meditation or forget to give thanks before bed like you just broke some sacred contract with the universe. That has a name too. It's a third habit, harder to spot, because it disguises itself as commitment. It's the same logic as someone who goes to the gym every day out of obligation, with zero enjoyment, just to prove discipline to themselves, and ends up hurting their body instead of strengthening it. Manifestation turned into punishment, disguised as discipline. And that's not a character flaw, it's just fear of failing, wearing the shape of a routine. This is me, or at least who I used to be. Feeling ashamed when I slipped up on a practice, like it proved I wasn't spiritual enough to deserve what I was asking for. Some people want money, recognition, or a new relationship. Not because it'll bring them peace, but to silence the people who doubted them. If this method actually works, I'll prove they were wrong about me. That thought has crossed your mind before, even if quietly. The fourth habit lives right there, in the hidden motive behind the desire. It's like a musician who only plays to show off technical skill. The technique is flawless, but the music falls flat because the goal stopped being about feeling and became about proving something. Manifesting just to silence your critics is the same thing. You're not vibrating what you actually want to live, you're vibrating the need to be right. And that's wounded pride, not ambition. I've done this myself. I wanted a project to succeed more to silence the people who doubted me than for the life I actually wanted to live. None of these four is the one that blocks your manifestation the most. But together, they already explain a big part of why you do so much and get so little back. Before I show you the fifth one, the one that actually changes the game, save this video because it organizes the first four in a way you've probably never seen before. And this is exactly where most people get stuck. You know you're constantly asking for signs, checking your results, forcing discipline on yourself, and trying to prove something to other people, but you don't know how to turn that into a real daily practice without falling back into the same habits again. That's why I took everything I've learned about these patterns, including habit number 5, and put it all into an ebook that walks you step by step through how to get out of control mode and into a place of real trust. It's the same material that backs up most of what I teach you here on the channel, and it's still what I use myself, especially on the days when anxiety tries to take over again. If you want to go deeper than this video, the link is in the description. Take a look and see if it's a fit for you. Now let's get back to it, because the fifth habit is what changes everything. Goals with a fixed deadline. It has to be this job by this month, in this exact way. Or searching for that one specific person with that one specific profile, showing up in that one romantic way you pictured. While ignoring someone who's already right in front of you, offering another version of the same love. This looks like discipline. It looks like focus, but in practice it's the quietest form of control there is. Because your attention gets so locked onto the deadline that you completely miss the opportunities as arriving through a different path than the one you imagined. And this was exactly the habit I had to let go of. Treating the universe like an employee who has to meet a deadline and follow a script exactly the way I dictated it. This one is different from the other four. It's not just another item on the list, it's the root of all of them. You claim the outcome, you don't police the middle. The how and the when were never actually your problem to solve. They're a function of the state you've already assumed to be true. When you try to control the path, you're saying, without even realizing it, that you don't trust the destination is already yours. It's like driving with the GPS open, but insisting on correcting every single turn it suggests because you think you know a better way. All you do is delay the trip or get completely lost. A river does the opposite. If you don't block its path with a rock, it always finds a way to reach the ocean, even if it's not through the most obvious route. Trust releases the flow. Control blocks it. The universe responds to your vibration of trust, not to your timeline. And it was only when I understood that I realized this was the strongest habit of all. I'd been doing pretty much everything right, except this. Maybe the universe never actually stopped responding. Maybe you're the one who spent all this time trying to drive the entire process yourself and ended up vibrating fear instead of trust. And that raises a question worth sitting with for a second. Why does letting go of that control weigh so much more than the previous 4 habits combined? Think about someone who builds a career plan, studies, prepares, sends out resumes, and keeps living their life while they wait. That's responsible action. Now think about someone who does all of that and still checks their phone every 10 minutes, trying to make sure nothing's going wrong. That's not planning anymore. That's distrust dressed up as responsibility. And if you stop to notice, the first 4 habits are just that same distrust wearing different outfits. Constantly asking for a sign is doubting the timeline. Checking the outcome all the time is doubting the process. Turning the practice into an obligation is doubting your own consistency. And wanting to prove yourself to others is doubting that you're already enough without needing to. This even changes what you're able to see. When you live in a state of inner security, your perception opens up and you start noticing doors that were always there. When you live watching every single detail, afraid something's going to go wrong, that same perception closes down and you only see what confirms your fear. It's basically the same attention being directed by two different emotional states. One that relaxes and sees more, and one that tightens up and sees less. And this is where signs change their function. When the relationship stops being about demands and becomes a partnership, a sign stops being proof you're demanding and becomes a confirmation that simply arrives. You stop testing the universe because you've stopped distrusting it. Now I understand why this last one changes the game the most. The other four were just symptoms of this one. My problem was never a lack of spiritual technique. It was the kind of relationship I'd built with the universe. One built on demands, fear, and constant watching. If you've been trying for years and still haven't seen results, that doesn't mean you're bad at this. It means nobody ever told you what the real problem was. And understanding this isn't enough on its own. Now comes the part where you figure out where to actually start applying it without turning into a completely different person overnight. You don't need to become a different person by tomorrow morning. You just need a few small adjustments made consistently, because that's what changes your dominant frequency, not a one-day effort. Start by noticing where you're still demanding a deadline and a specific form from the universe. It could be a career goal, waiting on someone, or a dream you've already tried 1,000 different ways. Just noticing this, without beating yourself up over it, already changes something. Then, swap the request for an identity. Instead of asking to have more money, start treating yourself, in your own words, as someone who already handles money well. It also helps to cut down on how many times a day you check whether it's already working, and replace that with a different question. How am I vibrating right now, in this exact moment? That question pulls you out of the outcome and brings you back to the one place you actually have control over, your inner state. And if you slip up one day, forget. Fall back into control again. That doesn't cancel out the pattern you've been building consistently. It's like training for a race. Someone who focuses on checking the stopwatch every single second runs worse than someone who trusts their pace and only checks every once in a while. The simple act of noticing where you're still controlling is, by itself, already the beginning of a shift in vibration. You don't need to master this today. You just need to start noticing. And that's already enough to start unlocking what you've been trying to manifest for a long time. And this is just the first practical step of an entire shift in your relationship with the universe. The rest, the deeper reprogramming, the new identity, the intelligent surrender, is all laid out in detail in the material I just told you about. So, to recap quickly, you're not stuck because you lack faith. You're stuck because you've built a relationship of demands with the universe instead of one of trust. And the fifth habit, letting go of control over the how and the when, is what reorganizes the other four all at once. If this video made sense to you, the ebook I mentioned goes even deeper into exactly this. It's not just theory, it's a step-by-step guide to rebuilding that relationship, with practical exercises for each of the 5 habits we covered here today. The link is in the description. Now tell me in the comments, which of these 5 habits hit closest to home for you? I really want to know. And subscribe to the channel, because shifting your dominant frequency is about repetition, not about hearing something once and being done with it. And that's exactly the kind of reinforcement I bring you here every week. Send this video to someone you know who's also stuck controlling the outcome instead of trusting the process. This might be exactly what they needed to hear today. See you in the next video, Manifestor.